Greetings everyone, my name is Etterville, and welcome back to my Let's Play of Mega Man Maker. During the last part, I covered at least 5 Mid levels, so in this part, I'll be covering a bunch of levels that I'll find by browsing the most popular queue, starting out with this one. The Robotic Tournament Round 1 by EndermanChamp with 86 plays and a score of 22. I will be skipping all of the levels that were designed for the level design competition for this engine. I will be saving that up for a whole series of videos. So let's see, only Mega Buster and Charge Shot. So this is going to be either a traditional level or a fortress level. That's good to know. Hold on for a second. My apologies, for some reason something went a bit wonky with my control setup, and the fire button wasn't working half the time. So we're going to be facing several gauntlets of enemies, I suppose, because this is a tournament. Oh, I see your blind spot. Never put a hot dog with one block of free space over here, otherwise you can go right up to it and wail on it easily. So far, so good. Really, the stage is kind of more on the empty side. It's just enemy-based challenges. Although there are some platforming challenges now, and it is getting gradually more difficult, so there's that. But the stage feels relatively on the plain size. At least there's a frequent number of checkpoints, and there's an over-generous amount of E-tanks. And that's the end of the stage. Alright then. Super weak against the Mega Buster too. So, okay, that's the end of Roadmaster Tournament Round 1. That was a lot easier than I expected it. I expected it to get much harder, but this felt kind of a rather boring traditional level, so I will give it a thumbs up. I will take a look at Round 2 just to see if it gets any better. Otherwise, I will switch back over to the other levels. Because it felt like half of a level, and it only started to get good around the hothead section. At least that's what I think. Well, now we have water segments, killer bullets, and the big fish. So there is something different. Now we have access to the Hyper Bomb, which makes sense because we killed Bomb Man in the previous level, or the previous round. That's an odd place to put an E-tank, but I guess it's not affected by gravity. Well, at least there's continuity between each level, and after I defeat Plant Man, I'll probably get the plant barrier at the end of the stage. Thank you for despawning over there, Power Master. Of course, you don't despawn because there's a ceiling, I think. Well, wait a minute. The water just abruptly ends there. Ah. If you somehow made the jump, you would be able to go through the upper route, I think. You know, because these stages are so short, I think I'll just do all 4 rounds, then I'll move on to the next level. Not to mention all the bosses are super weak against the Mega Buster. That wasn't really necessary to do, actually. I mean, the bosses are easy enough to dispatch anyway, so we really don't need access to... we don't need their weakness to be the Mega Buster. Still, same problem as the previous level, as the stage feels like it's just starting and then it ends. It feels like it's half of a stage, and it's going to become better in the second half, but then it ends. Alright, round 3, now we're in Wily 2 Fortress. We have the Plant Barrier and Hyper Bomb. At least the hot dog is placed in a better location this time. It's not so easy to just cheese. If only I had the access to the skull barrier. then I could just easily make minced meat out of the hot dogs, as you noticed in one level back in the previous part. Oh, now it's getting interesting. We can't necessarily use our special weapons here, otherwise we'll kill ourselves. I wonder how the round 1 got on the trending queue, or the most popular queue. I guess it was lucky. It's a rather bland level, but I guess people like the enemy-based challenges in the name. And E-tanks are left out of the open, so this is really on the super easy side in terms of stages. Time to fight Crashman with all these fire beams, or fire bars. But as I mentioned, because he's weak against the Mega Buster, it's a cinch to defeat him. It'd be a lot more fun to face these Roadmasters if their weakness wasn't the Mega Buster and instead it was a special weapon. That way we can fight them in their more unique boss corridors. Because there are variations on the boss corridors as we saw with Plant Man, Crash Man, and I believe with Fair Man too. So round 4. Too bad we don't have a Wily Capsule or any Wily Fortress, or a Wily Fortress boss. That way we can actually have a nice send-off. Oh, we also have the Magnet Beam too. That's neat. At least the stages are getting gradually harder and harder. So I do approve of that. Multiple routes, I guess? I'll have to take a look. At least the stage layout is slowly getting more interesting. Whoops, I guess that's to loop back after collecting the E-tank, but I forgot to ledge grab properly. That's my fault though, not the game's. It seems the Crash Bomb is a bit stronger for damage over time because of its constant explosions, but the Hyper Bomb is much more powerful for its initial strike. So there is some differentiation between each of the bomb types. Really, I have nothing more to say about this stage other than the fact they're slowly getting better with each round, and slowly getting more difficult too. They're overall rather plain traditional levels. Traditional / fortress levels because it's kind of expected you understand how these enemies work. Oh, there was a nasty trick. Well, that's an easy way of despawning that enemy, and I forgot that the concrete platform / Kovac platform leaves without me. Thank you for despawning off screen. If this was Magmal 2, you would have the option to make the Power Masters not despawn if they go off screen. That way, stuff like that can't happen. And they're at the end of the stage, although I would have liked if there was a more discreet screen transition there. Now to fight Fairman with a more compressed room. Oh. Here's something different. Fairman is immune to all my shots. I mean all my Mega Buster shots. So at least we have something different now. Oh, his weakness is the plant barrier. So this stage immediately became like a special weapons oriented stage because you're forced to use special weapons at the end in order to defeat the boss. Well, there are two problems here. One of which is that you cannot restock on special weapon energy after you hit the checkpoint in the mid-boss corridor, so if you run out of special weapon energy against Fairman, you're out of luck and you're forced to restart the entire stage. That's not good stage design. But as I stated for all of these rounds, they slowly get better over time, sure, but they feel like very plain, traditional / fortress levels. So I can't really give any of them a thumbs up. So let's move on to the 5th level, which is Super Oil Slick by Kovac, 109 plays and a score of 45. Top Man is the boss, and I suppose this will, yep, it's a special weapons oriented stage focusing on the oil slider. I was waiting for these to pop up eventually, so let's see what this level has to offer, and see how creatively it uses the oil slider. Hopefully it doesn't become too difficult. But then again, it got on the trending list, so I suppose it won't become too difficult. What's to the right over there? Nothing. I was really suspicious on the open block there. That's a slick trick over there. And apparently the oil slider sliding still maintains itself as you go between screens. And we can damage boost right through those blockies as well as the big fish. Well, this is really fun. Also nice touch using the conveyor belts here, as well as the train scrolling background. How do we get over here? Ah, this is a faster way of going through the conveyor belts. And we need to survive away against Top Man. Please fall off. Well, that was the end of Slick Moves. A pretty fun and short special weapons oriented stage. I would have liked to see it taken further, become a little bit more difficult, but this was a nice initial start. So good work, Kovac. Next up is Snake Planet by MegamLaden. 33 plays and a score of 15. I get the feeling we're going to have a bunch of shorter levels in this part. I don't mind it, especially with how many long levels I've been playing so long. Darn, we have Starman's team, but we don't have low gravity. After all, that isn't part of the engine. The only way you can have low gravity is by using the water physics, or using water, but we can't apply water physics without applying the water graphics, Star Crash and Ring Boomerang. And snakes. Why do we have snakes here anyway? In space? Guess we're delving into the base. Might as well just ignore all the Sniper Joes if we're fast enough. Of course, there are situations like this one where it's impossible to avoid. But it isn't too bad. A lot of those walkers, or whatever they're actually called, I forget what they're called. They're not Mecha Kuros, those are the hoppers. I'll call these walkers or prop tops. Probably prop tops. I'm always checking the size of the screens in case there are any secrets like E-tanks, M-tanks, or shortcuts. Well, the stage is getting interesting now with the usage of the conveyor belts, and me getting sniped by that Sniper Joe there. Well, this is really fun. It really promotes you to speedrun it because you can skip past most enemies, and the petite snakies force you to react quickly to destroy them before getting sniped by them. Most of these enemies are very easily skippable, actually. If you take the right routes, that is. The only enemies who are not really skippable are the petite snakies. This stage would be even more of a speedrun friendly stage if you had access to things like the Ice Slasher, as well as the Charge Kick. Time to fight Toadman. In fact, I didn't even use my special weapons. And we're forced to use special weapons here. Alright then. I don't remember seeing a special weapons canister back in the middle of the stage, unfortunately. Or rather, in the boss corridor. So that is a minus in terms of design, because if you run out of special weapons energy, you cannot complete the stage. Well, I found it enjoyable, so I will give it a thumbs up, but it felt kind of more on the bland side. Still, I did like how it was more speedrun friendly, so maybe a 5.5. My apologies, but as I stated, ever since part 50, I will be harsher on most of the levels I played through. So 7th on the lineup is Gnarly Skate Lab by DoctorSpacebar, 42 plays and a score of 13. It says skating, so I guess we're going to be using the top spin and or the oil slider. And judging by the loading times, this is going to be a longer stage. I didn't expect to hear Gyroman's team here. Only oil slider though. And this is going to be a much longer stage, so I suppose my wish for a longer oil slider focused special weapon stage has been granted. A lot of different enemies encountered here. These would be a lot more dangerous to go through if I didn't have access to my oil slider. This is definitely an enemy spam stage, but I don't mind it because, well, we have access to oil slider, which makes us immune to most enemies, excluding the ones who explode on us, like the killer bullets though. So at least there is some challenge. I know I'm taking the cheap route here, but I don't want to get hit by the killer bullets. This is definitely better than Super Slick Park or the Super Slick stage. I find it a lot more fun to go through all the enemies. Well, there's another challenge. We need to be careful about the 1 block high gaps, or 1 block wide gaps. Otherwise, I'll fall through them using the oil slider. Thank you for putting a checkpoint here because the level designer knew that some people get stuck. So good work of understanding player psychology. But we can pierce through the big eyes regardless, so there's that. You know, if you're really good with the oil slider, you can go by the stage without even losing the oil slider anywhere. So this stage is even more speedrunner friendly. Oh no, I don't want to go there. Didn't want to take any chances there. Oh, it's always so fun to use oil slider in this way. Goody, we have more challenges here because now we have to be careful about the conveyor belts shifting our patterns. Now in the other direction because we're moving a lot faster. At least we can slow down our movement if we really want to. Let me see if I can defeat the boss using the current life energy I have. Oh, goody. I see what they want me to do here. Can I fight you normally? Yep, I can. But the top spins do pierce through my shield, so it's gonna be a little bit more difficult. There we go, that's how you're supposed to do it. Wow, I can just immediately stop my oil slider because of this conveyor belt. And basically Top Man just killed himself. Wonderful. This is definitely my favorite stage of this part. So good work, DoctorSpacebar, with Gnarly Skate Lab. It feels like it well utilized the oil slider's unique characteristics of being able to pierce through most enemies, the increased movement range, as well as some of the being able to dodge all those killer bullets, which do pierce through because they're explosive weapons. And a nice way to end off the stage with a Top Man encounter. Bravo. Bravo. So 8 on the lineup is Mining Chaos by Creeperface123, 48 plays and a score of 13. Okay, special weapon stage time. Only have access to the charge kick here. Well, I have access to the Mega Buster, but it's treated as a special weapon, with limited energy reserves. Time to charge kick through everything. Which isn't too bad because the stage is designed with the charge kick in mind. And that was it. Okay. Come on, I need to hit you. The only problem is going to be fighting Bomb Man in this territory. Well, at least he's super weak against the Mega Buster, so I do have a way out. So that was the end of Mining Chaos. A stage that felt like it ended too early for me. I would like to see the charge kick gimmick taken a bit further. On to the ninth level. Boom Woom by HyperTBoss, 37 plays and a score of 12. Judging by the name, this will be a special weapons oriented stage focused on using the Hyper Bomb. And we have Time Man's tile set, Time Man's team, and the Hyper Bomb like I expected. Oh wait a minute, this is taking place on a train. That's a very creative way of creating a train background and tile set. And also the plant barrier, for good measure. And spikes. So this stage definitely wins the aesthetic appeal reward, or rather the best graphics of this part reward. Oh neat, we actually have alternate routes too, the first stage of this part to have it. I was hoping there was going to be a screen transition over there or solid ground. At least there's a checkpoint right over here. But why would there be bombs on the left side leading to a bottomless pit? Beats me. I'm going to ignore those ladders because I don't think it leads to anywhere that's helpful for me. Just wanted to be sure. Or that can happen because I forgot the spike hitboxes are squares. Well, let's try this route and see where it leads to. And the background stopped scrolling, unfortunately. Oh well. Oh, and yeah, the pathways loop up with each other. I'm curious now what route to take. Oh, I see, I think. I forgot there was a spring over here that could launch me up all the way. Especially with the water. My bad. I was hoping this was going to loop up to the other side with the water. I didn't expect the Hyper Bomb to detonate right on the blocky on any part of the blocky. Okay, here's some challenge. We need to make sure not to destroy the Hyper Bomb blocks over here, otherwise we won't be able to make the jump. Gotta be careful with these crushers. Nope, that's not it. We're now in the cabin, the upper cabin of this train fortress. It looks like a fortress or a train, it could be either actually. I really need to use plant barriers soon because I'm low on health. I didn't want to take any chances there with the spikes. Good checkpoint placement and also good placement of the health. Really appreciate that. Really forgiving with that too. Time to fight Bomb Man with the Hyper Bomb. Let's see how he faces against his own weapon. Of course he's immune against it. He's weak against the plant barrier, but I will give him a fighting chance by just using the Hyper Bomb against him. Plus, my Hyper Bomb is a lot better than his own Hyper Bomb. Just imagine if Bomb Man actually had the Hyper Bomb that I have. This boss fight would become a lot more crazy, similar to Photon Man Hard Mode from Mega Man Rock Force. That was a neat encounter. Also, another nice trick is that if you want to cancel out the explosions immediately so you can throw out another Hyper Bomb sooner, just quick weapon switch. I liked Boom Woom, so good job HyperTBoss. A pretty nice special weapons oriented stage focused on using the Hyper Bomb, but I also really like the train/Sky Fortress aesthetics, especially it whizzing through the sky. So, 10th and final level of this part is the Plant Virus by Little Cupcake, 27 plays and a score of 11. So, a Plant Man stage, or a Plant Barrier oriented stage. Rolling Cutter, Oil Slider, Firestorm. So, special weapons oriented stage, we have Quick Man's tile set combined with Snake Man's tile set, as well as Woodman's background. I guess we're going to be cutting down these trees and decapitating these snakes. You know, I don't give the rolling cutter enough credit. Even though it has a little bit of an odd arc, the fact that it rolls and arcs back means hitting some enemies is a little bit easier, especially ones who are directly below you. Plus, it is really damaging as well, so it is useful in that regard. Although fighting these enemies with it is going to be a little bit more of a problem. Unfortunately, projectiles do pierce through the oil sliders and vulnerability frames. Unless, of course, I do stuff like this and mistime it completely. Learning into quick weapon switch with the rolling cutter will make it a lot more useful because I can spam it a lot more. Thank goodness I have access to the Firestorm to make those Power Masters a lot easier to deal with. Time to fight Plant Man, whose weakness I suppose is the rolling cutter, after all. Well, apparently not. It's then the Firestorm, probably. I was gonna say, well, the rolling cutter cuts down plants. Well, let's try this again, shall we? The boss's room makes this a little bit more difficult to hit. Let me test out my theory of whether Firestorm is his weakness. Yep, it is. Fire burns down plants. The room structure is making this a lot more difficult though. Especially with his jumping arc. At least it deals 2 points of damage per hit instead of the usual 1. Well, this was an interesting special weapons oriented stage, although it could also be a pretty good traditional level as well. I would like to see the stage taken further and be a bit longer, because right now it's probably a 6 for me. Still, I enjoyed it, so I will give it a thumbs up. Overall, out of the 10 levels I played in this part, my favorite one would definitely be Gnarly Skate Lab. It was a pretty one oil slider oriented stage, and even though it was really enemy spammy, it was fine because the oil slider made you immune to most of the enemies, excluding Top Man's tops and the killer bullets. Using the killer bullets as a dodging challenge, as well as the conveyor belts to shift around where you're sliding, really make this a fun challenge, not to mention bouncing off the springs as well. So for that alone, I really enjoyed the stage. I wish it got more plays. And an honorable mention goes to Boom Woom, more so for its nice aesthetics and graphics for being a train/flying fortress. It was also a pretty fun hyperbomb oriented stage. So, in the next part, I'll probably be covering a bunch of levels that I'll find on the Mega Man Maker official subreddit. Well then, thanks for watching, and have a nice day. Toodles!